Hey guys, I'm Brenda Breland and I'm here to chat all things health, fitness, mindset, and business. I will be sharing how transforming my body allowed me to transform my life and how you can do the same. So grab a cup of coffee or your favorite cocktail. I'm so excited you're here. Let's get unfiltered.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Unfiltered. We have a very special guest today that I have known, well, basically my whole life, because it is my sister, Brandi Spurling.
Basically, Brenda, you say you have known me your whole life.
Okay.
Unless for some reason you checked out at some point, in which case, yeah, same.
There's
Ditto.
many a times I think we both can vouch that we probably did check out multiple times.
We checked out.
But with that being said, I'm excited to have you on. I want you to first kind of start off, share with everyone a little bit, about your business, why you're here, how you got to where we're at today, and then we'll kind of jump into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, totally. So my name is Brandi Spurling. I am the new owner of Sage Culture Co. I just started this company in the last 3 months. No big deal. Look at me. Look at me. And I started it with the intention for it to be a culture and leadership company where I would work with companies and leaders and teams to really do two things. And it was one, to make work feel less like just this 40-hour a week experience that we just go, we clock in, and then our life starts somehow on the other side of it. And then two, to start intentionally working with leaders from the perspective of like, hey, we're your people. Like, this is what we want. Because there's so many consultant agencies out there that are from like the CEO perspective, and they're like, yeah, I was a CEO forever. And I'm like, cool, that's great. But I also have been a people forever. I've been reporting to you forever, and this is what I want. So I started it with the intention of working with leaders to help encourage them to lean into their team's needs and build a really solid, vibing culture.
Love that. So, do you feel like you're kind of bridging the gap?
Yeah, and you know what's funny? In the last 4 years, I've been in a role where I've been doing learning and development and leadership development. And one of the like really amazing geniuses that I've kind of experienced is that bridging the gap of being able to show up and go, hey, as a leader, FYI, this is what we want. And it's really well received. And it's largely because of probably the relationships I create, but then also approaching it from this perspective of, hey, it can be what you create, and it can be leaning into what people need and asking what they need, and then being able to find this really amazing way forward together. It's almost like a one-on-one relationship base versus a here's a leadership book, let's freaking go experience.
Which is not customized, which isn't personal, nothing. It's kind of, cut and paste for everyone. That doesn't really work in every corporation or every business. So I love that you're doing that. And I think that's the main reason, I wanted to bring you on, is because I saw that there is this gap that you're bridging. And I think even though you're focusing more right now in the in-person and corporation space, I feel like as an online entrepreneur and business owner, and there's a lot of people who listen who are also online business owners, whether that be in fitness, whether that be in mindset, business coaching, own online boutiques. I feel like we are all asking similar questions to what you're answering for these people. So with that being said, do you feel like a lot of the things that you do in business or with your business inside of corporations and inside of physical buildings is something that can transition into online businesses? And if so, how have you been able to kind of see that and utilize that in your business so far?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is I think we think of leaders as, hey, this is someone that works for a company and they're leading people that report to them and they're the ones that are giving them the paycheck. Whenever, interestingly enough, regardless of what your role is, if you're a business owner and you're working with clients, you're probably a leader in some capacity. And so I've been finding it from the perspective of thinking of it as learners. So any business that's starting a business and they're using their platform or they're using their resources to encourage people to use them, or working with clients, you're a leader in a perspective, and these are learners. These are people that are looking to you and there's this give and take symbiotic relationship. And so I'm seeing it for sure, especially in the realm of learners theory. So I'm working with a lot of companies from the perspective of how do we create really cool, engaging content, meaning like classes, online classes, in-person classes, keynotes. How do we engage learners through keynotes? And what's funny is one of my clients that I've been working with is like, Brandi, you should be doing this for like a lot of business coaches, because that's what we're doing. We're just working with learners. And so what's funny is I didn't come in with that intention of like, oh, this could be any business that's looking to roll out a product because everybody's a learner and we're educating. But it really can be, because we are educating everybody in some capacity, right?
Yeah.
Like you for sure do.
Yeah, no. And that's why, whenever we were talking about it, whenever we talked about even doing this podcast, I was like, look, like I see how much value in what, me just having a little bit of a front row seat into how you're kind of working with other businesses, going through that. I'm like, oh shit, like there's so much value here that I can utilize in my own business. I'm like, okay, we got to do a podcast because I think this is going to help others, whether they're online coaches, whatever it is. Like this is all stuff we need if we are building a business and we're trying to teach or serve someone in some capacity. So with that being said, like, one of the biggest things I feel like I have like questions around for you is like, how do we connect with those people and in a way that works for them, right? We know people learn in different ways. We know they receive information in different ways, no matter what it is. So if you're working with an online coach, right, what do you feel like is some of the top tips and tricks that you can give them in, number one, deciding if someone is a good fit for them to work with them, and then number two, supporting them in the way that best supports their personality through their offer?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is it matches what I do whenever I'm going to do a keynote or I'm doing a presentation, is I have to know who my audience is and I have to know what my message is going to do on the other side. So I would recommend asking 3 questions that I use. I use these whenever I'm building anything for any client. What do we want them to feel on the other side of this? What do we want them to think on the other side of this? And what do we want them to do on the other side of this? And that way, if you go in with a really clear vision of how we want to impact people, then we get to sit in our discovery meetings or our kickoff meetings, whatever you call it, and we get to go, is what this person is what they're asking for? Because I'm asking really good questions, I'm assuming all of us are, to really understand what is this person needing, and is what they're needing in line with what I want to help people think, know, feel on the other side of it, do any of those things. Because if you have a mismatch there, then right out of the gate, you're kicking off an experience that probably is not going to be symbiotic for both of you. So what do you want them to feel? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to do? And then from there, it's really listening to, along the way, what someone's needing as we go. So whenever I think of like learners theory, whenever in the learning and development world, we don't do one thing for the same group every time. Because if I know you and I know each other basically our whole lives, right? Uh,
Basically.
and I know if you were sitting, sorry, you teed me up. If I was sitting in a room with you and I was doing a presentation or a keynote and all I did was talk at you for 60 minutes, and then I did one activity where I made you write down some things or read something, you probably would be like, yeah, see you later. See ya. Because I feel like you would want to do hands-on things. You would want me to do a visual, like show you, here's what I'm talking about, and then give you time to actually like see it in person for yourself. So you need that, but Chris, my husband, maybe he would want to sit down and read the thing and have some space to do it. And so knowing how people take in information, because they could take it in, really love like auditory, like, man, I love audiobooks, or reading and writing. Man, I love to read things and then journal and write and work through problems that way. I love visual. So like think like, gosh, graphs, things like that, logos, like pictures, anything in that regard where we're taking it in. or kinesthetic, like, oh, I like to touch things, I like to move things. So if you know that everybody learns in different ways, then you, as the person that's offering this thing, you can go, oh, okay, well, I have these different ways that I can go depending on what journey and what experience this person needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay. So how do you figure out what their needs are without just like, because I think a lot of people, I think I found this through like your quizzes that you did with me in another business. And, I think a lot of us who are listening may not even really know how we actually prefer to take in information. So if you're an online business and you have a new client coming in, what are some things that we can do to better understand how that person prefers to learn, even if they can't articulate it?
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm working with one client that's doing this entire like online learning experience. It's a 12-month online courses. And
Mhm.
one of the things that we wanted to do right out of the gate was send a survey or an assessment on the front end. That way, this client that I'm working with, had a really good picture of what this person was expecting on the front end. But we also asked some really good questions that gave us some pictures into how do they like to take in information, and or how do they like to take action in any capacity. So one of the questions that we decided to ask was, how do you like to be held accountable? What's your favorite form of accountability? And we can put some examples in there. So like, I need you to give me a checkbox every week and I want to check that checkbox off. Or, you know what, I really want some journal prompts and I want to have like a one-on-one discussion with you. And you can check in every week to be able to check and see like, oh, did I do that journal? Or the journal can automatically get sent to you and then boom, there's your accountability. Yeah, I think any of those questions of like, how do you, what if it's just even asking someone, how do you prefer to take in information? Would you rather videos? Do you like blog posts? Do you like TikTok? Do you like scrolling TikTok? Is that the quickest way? 3-minute spurts? Or do you like graphics? So maybe it's like a PowerPoint presentation that they scroll through to be able to take in the information. It's just asking, how do you like to take in information?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of us, I know myself included, I've never thought about just asking that on the front end of an application, right? Like I want to know all about everything else, and then eventually, through months of talking to this person, I can figure it out. But why trial and error it if you can just kind of ask them right off the bat and give them that an even better experience inside of your offer than if they would had to trial and error that. So love that perspective and love being able to do that. So for you, like I know you hit on you're working with a client for doing like a masterclass or workshop. This is something I'm obviously going to be doing very soon as well. So I would love to get some, your perspective on online workshops, because I do think in the online space, they can either be really good or they can be really bad, right? So I've been on both ends of these, and I would love to know your perspective on what you feel like. What are the key things that need to be inside of a workshop or a masterclass or something like this to keep engagement? And obviously some of these things are to make sales, right? So like, what are the
Yeah.
things that you feel like need to be thought about or incorporated to be able to keep people engaged and make sales in workshops or online courses?
Yeah, so depending on how long you're doing your class, I recommend, so with every point, so let's say we were to do your class and I go, okay, Brenda, what do you want them to feel during your class? What do you want them to think? Like what perspective are they coming in with and which perspective are we shifting? And then what do we want them to do? What's the call to action that we're encouraging them to do on the other side? We have to do all of those during the class and then all of them after the class. So knowing that everybody has different learning styles, that means that everything is either going to be we're telling them, we're showing them, we're having them do it in some capacity. So if you are creating this class to where, okay, anybody can just show up and listen to me for 30 minutes, that's going to work for some people, but it's not going to work for others. So having this healthy amount of optional interaction of you ask questions, they answer, using polls so that there's this virtual like, oh, automatically now I'm seeing myself in this topic because you're asking me to answer a question. Or you've got some type of prompt to where people can actually write down while you're going. I would never recommend to someone to only like talk at someone for 30 minutes as their only option. Some people are going to like that and it's going to work. But a lot of the people and or some of the people are going to want to come in for some type of engagement interaction, and you got to have that in there. So do it in the class, but then also follow up. This like sales experience can't only feel like it's for you, because the minute it only feels like it's for you and that it's a sales experience, and all of a sudden I'm seeing through that. So a way that you can make it not feel like it's only for you is by giving it to me on the other side too. Like have me sit through it, we talk about it, and then give me the actions and the follow-ups via email or via written letter or freaking pigeon. I don't care what you do. Like,
Signal, I prefer.
but yeah, make them a part of it. We want to be brought in some way.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And I think that's really helpful. I know with, like I said, with online workshops and those types of things, unless you've done them repeatedly and over, I think they're constantly a learning experience. And you find that, like you said, some people will interact when they're inside there and some people won't, but really finding a happy medium to where you're trying to hit all of those learning styles or information all in one time without being, all over the place is really important. So whenever whenever you're working with a business owner, like what are some of the like biggest things that you see whenever it comes to, just being able to connect with their ideal client, being able to retain clients and customers? Like what are like, some of the key like things that people are doing out there that you believe they could shift to help their business, whether that's with customer retention, with, their employees, whatever you feel that is?
I think that there's this shift happening of feeling really comfortable showing up as a whole human in any space. So I'm seeing it a lot, especially the best example I can give you is I went to a conference recently and I loved the conference, and I sat in the audience and I watched some of these keynote speakers, and it was very reminiscent of like TED Talks and super polished and buttoned up experiences. And I think that that's going to work for a lot of people. But I think what social media has done for a lot of us is it's created this space where if we see that something doesn't feel true and real and honest, we can tell right out of the gate. And so making sure that you're feeling super comfortable showing up extremely truthful, present with these people, and as much as possible, remembering that your agenda includes both of you, whether you're a leader that's leading people, whether you're a business owner that owns a business and is trying to get clients. If we don't see ourselves a part of whatever you're doing, then we're really quickly going to disengage. And I mean, now you can see it even in social media. Freaking people know, like not people, businesses know so much about what I want to see that that's the only thing that they show me. I very rarely get targeted ads that aren't like a spot on fit. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Of course I'd want to buy that. And so,
or it's exactly what you want, but it's $500 and you're like,
yes,
what do they think I am? Yes, I
who
want that,
stole my phone?
I can't afford that shit. But
I
get it off of here.
know.
I want to buy it right now.
We see it so much that now when we don't see that, like, oh, they don't know me at all, like it's like keying really quickly for us. And that's just my opinion. I don't know. I haven't seen a ton of studies that are saying that, but I'm feeling it as a consumer, as a person that reports to people, as a person that, has worked for X amount of companies, that if I can't see that something's for me really quickly and at least see that like they're pouring into me as much as like this is a benefit for them, then we're probably not going to want to do it as much.
Yeah.
Super scientific. We're not going to want to do it as much.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, especially with social media, right? Like we already know we're being targeted to. So it's like, we need to find ways that we can better. And I say this all the time, like with my current clients, is you have to meet your ideal client where they're at and you have to build that walkway. It's not just going in and pushing a sale. It's not just going in and saying, hey, like, I know you want this and presenting your offer. It's getting to know them. It's like doing the things, figuring out how they want to work with you and what best way so that you can have actual authentic, like you said, conversations with them that are not based on pitching and constantly selling and those types of things. And I think that too is kind of, that works hand in hand with what you just said, is like, you know, if we're constantly feeling like that icky, like here you go, we're using good words here, icky, like you're being sold to all the time, you're not going to want to respond. You're not going to want to like talk to that person. So I love that you hit on authenticity, because I feel like that's a big part of just an online brand in general, right? Like you can't go into every conversation with someone just wanting to close a sale. You need to want to get to know this person and ask the questions that you're asking, even if it's before they're working with you, so that you can get to know them on a different level and serve them in a way that fits them and not just in general. So I love that.
Totally. Whenever I think about that too, I stand in front of like room full of people, like the leader asks me to come in, I train teams, I do keynotes, and it would be equivalent to me like standing on that stage and only doing what the leader asked me to do without any interest in making this person like feel like I was a part of it. So we're all hiking the same mountain and I'm standing on top of it going like, come on guys, you didn't even ask to hike this mountain, let's go. Instead of like being on the ground with them and going, yeah, we're gonna hike a mountain, this is gonna be cool, like let's go, you know. So whenever I look at you and your business and all the people that are working with you, it's got to feel like you're not, there's this balance between knowing that you have hiked this mountain before and you're here to help people do it, but then it also has to feel like you're hiking it with them for the first time and helping them to rest when it's time to rest and pushing them whenever it's time to push them, and that like interesting balance.
So unfiltered question, because I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this, but this is why it's unfiltered. Okay. If looking in the inside out or the outside in from my business, if there was one thing that you could change or tell me that I should do, that I could do better from your perspective, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
It's
This is
unfiltered.
good.
Give it to me.
No, this is good. I'm also really practicing feeling okay with thinking about something before I answer it. So this is well within my realm of considering what I wanted to say. So I love that you show a lot of people what it can look like to work with you through your like befores, afters, all of those things. But I also wonder if you have a lot of followers that are just there along with the journey, that there's some opportunity to either educate and or lean into them some of the time. And then you have some opportunity to like just be there for what they need in this moment versus driving them into a gate that maybe they're not ready to go in yet. But I don't know. What do you think?
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I think any outside perspective, and I think this is why I love talking to other business owners and anyone in the industry, even if they're not a business owner, if they have like this specialty, because I feel like we all see things from a different lens, right? Like I see doing something and I see it going in a totally different way than maybe it's received, or, you know, or there's things I'm missing. And I feel like that's why, you know, I was like, okay, I'm going to ask her this question, because I feel like, one, you're my sister. So I'm like, this is a good opportunity. Like, she has to be honest with me.
She's either going to for sure lie or shit, she can't lie at all. And now, and you waited until you were recording me.
It could have gone either way. Mind you, anyone who is listening to this, me and Brandi like cannot be polar opposites on everything in our lives. Okay. This is why, like, you know, it's weird because we are polar opposites on literally everything. Okay. But when we're together, we can finish each other's sentences. It's the weirdest thing.
Sandwiches. Oh, shoot.
Oh, we fucked that up. Do you want to stop and
sorry. I thought you were going to say sandwiches.
Just kidding. But I think that's why it's so, again, like opposing opinions and different points of view on things, whether it's about your business or whatever it is. I think it's just so helpful, right? Like, I think it, you know, from any point of view, there's so much value you can get from it. So no, I appreciate that. That's super helpful.
Do you want another mountain analogy that I love to give?
Yeah, shoot.
So good. So I love mountain analogies because it's a really great way to tell people I've hiked a mountain. It's just like to humble brag.
Fucking shoes that you always wear, because
you know what, we're gonna let that one slide. So anyway, like if you hike mountains and or if you have hiked a mountain like I have, there's usually like more than one way to get up the mountain. So we hiked Mount Elbert last year and there's like 3 different trails that you can get. And what's interesting is you're all heading in the same direction. We're all heading to the same mountain, or maybe someone's hiking like 2 mountains over and we're all just like heading in the general direction of just up. And that means that if I'm looking up to someone hiking a different route, it doesn't mean that if I like yelled up and went, wow, looks, this is so beautiful. Like you're almost there. And they're like, no, I can see the mountain back here. And I've got like 2 hours, dumbass. It doesn't make my perspective wrong. It just makes all of them a little bit incomplete because we're always only looking from the trail that we chose to hike. And if we like took all the perspectives, we did like this 360 of all of these trails, it becomes this really, really cool picture that we never would have unless we had someone hiking every trail doing their own 360 picture. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think of it, and that's what you and I use each other for, is like we're hiking we might even be hiking way freaking different mountains, but we get like this really cool picture because we're both willing to go, hey man, this is my view right now. It's very incomplete, but I want you to see like the peripheral of what I have. And then you're like, yeah, that is incomplete because this is what I have. And
Yeah.
it's just cooler whenever we have all of them together.
Yeah, I love that and that analogy because I think that also resonates probably with a lot of business owners when they're trying to compare themselves to where other business owners are at in their journey, right? Like
Yeah.
that business owner from where you're standing may look like they're closer to the goal, but you don't know what they had to fucking go through to get there. You don't know
Yeah.
all the struggles. So I love that analogy for multiple different reasons. Okay, so I know you said you have an ebook coming out, right? Like you have an ebook coming out in how, or do you currently have the ebook?
God. Well, I have an ebook on imposter syndrome. It's
That's
called
on
Find Your
your
Friend,
website,
Trusting
right?
Yourself. It's on my website, and I may or may not be in the works of something else that I'm working
Okay,
on.
amazing. Well,
TBD.
that ebook
Not
they
ready
can
to be
find
released.
at the website, which is sagecultureco.com, correct?
SageCultureCo.com.
Yep.
Yep.
Amazing. And I know that a lot of people listening to this are probably going to have like master classes and workshops and things like that coming up. So if they want to work with you on those things, how do they get in contact with you? Let them know how that would look.
Yeah, so you can go to my website, sagecultureco.com, or you can find me on any social media. I somehow snagged all the at Sage Culture Co's. What up? So you can snag me on all of those, which is awesome. And yeah, slide into my DMs. You can either come through my website or slide into my messages and we'll chat and see if we're a good fit.
Amazing. I had to mute myself because Charlie's barking. And if you
Okay,
guys don't
good
know, he's
boy.
blind and he literally barks at everything. He hears a noise and he barks. Well, of course, when you're trying to record a podcast, it's lovely. So if you're watching this video on YouTube and you see me muted and I'm yelling, that's because I'm like, Charlie, stop. It's fine.
Full
But
disclosure,
anyway,
that's why I kept talking too, because I was like, she's muted, so I'm just gonna like maybe repeat it one more time because I thought it was either Raven or Charlie doing a thing.
no, it's Charlie. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt or stop you from saying that. But yes, everyone go to her Instagram at Sage Culture Co. You can find her on all platforms. That way I will also drop it in the show notes. She's going to be helping me with some master classes and stuff coming up very soon. So I'm excited to do that. So you guys know I will give unfiltered feedback on the quality of her work. But I really appreciate you coming on. I am excited to get to share this with everyone. And I'm just excited that for your business and everything coming up. And I think that you have a lot of value here on the podcast as well as over on your social media accounts. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, you know, I would do it anytime, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of me, and freaking look at us. Let's go back to like little 5-year-old and 4-year-old for that Brandi, and we're like, freaking look at us. Mom, look at us go. Mom's gonna be so proud of this.
Could
Hi,
you
Mom.
imagine getting mom on a podcast and just like sitting her down and drilling her, like just asking her questions?
Oh, she'd love it. I feel like she would love that shit.
Oh God, maybe we do it all together, but we drink during the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm in. Cheers. Let's do
Well,
it.
cheers to this podcast. Cheers to many more. Cheers to the businesses. And I appreciate you. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, let's keep it unfiltered.
Love you. Bye.
If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as always, keep it unfiltered.